This video explores the dangerous and volatile situations faced by various communities in Brazil, with a particular focus on the favelas of Rio de Janeiro and the challenges faced by the LGBT.
This is the first time I've ever had to wear a flak jacket and a helmet.
Highlights the violence and crime in these areas, the struggles of families affected by this violence, and the efforts of journalists and community organizations to shed light on these issues. The video also discusses the rise of conservative ideologies in Brazil and their impact on the LGBTQ+ community, as well as the ongoing battle for equal rights and representation. Ultimately, it showcases both the resilience and the need for change in the face of these challenges. The army is deployed onto the streets of Rio de Janeiro for the first time in 30 years to assist the police in combating the drug gangs that control the city's slums. Children living in these areas are constantly at risk of getting caught in the crossfire. A team of young journalists based in one of the most dangerous favelas report on the violence and crime from inside. They run a news site and paper called Voz and have gained permission from the Red Command gangs that control the city's slums. Children living in these are constantly at risk of getting caught in the crossfire. A team of young journalists based in one of the most dangerous favelas report on the violence and crime from inside. They run a news site and paper called Voz and have gained permission from the Red Command gang, who controls the area, to film there. The founder and editor, 24-year-old Rene Silva, started the publication when he was just 11 years old to shed light on stories that were ignored by the mainstream media. Today, national press sources seek out stories from him about the favela. Luana Mello, a chief reporter from a monthly newspaper called Voz, covers the aftermath of a shooting in a favela where 3 people, including a young boy named Benjamin, died in the crossfire.
Gunmen opened fire on a police car that had ventured into the favela. 3 people died in the crossfire, including a young boy, Benjamin Moore.
Luana tracks down Benjamin's parents, Fabio and Paloma, who are struggling to support their other 9 children. Luana also covers a story about flood damage in a local community, showcasing the importance of her newspaper's connection with the community. Despite the challenges faced, Luana and her team are dedicated to bringing attention to the issues affecting their city and its residents. The narrator explores the devastating impact of flooding in the favelas of Brazil. Luana, a resident, showcases her home that was flooded due to an open sewer. Despite the month that has passed since the flooding, people are still living in destroyed homes. The dangerous nature of living in the favelas is further highlighted as the narrator discusses the frequent sounds of gunfire, even in the hotel located on the outskirts. To avoid such dangers, people in Rio rely on apps like Fogo Cruzado, which help them navigate away from areas with gunfire. The risks faced by journalists reporting on the gang violence and police shootings are also revealed, as they fear for their lives and their families' safety due to potential repercussions. The case of Kyle, who was shot by a police officer during a demonstration, exemplifies the lack of justice and impunity that often accompanies such incidents. The section ends with the mention of protests throughout Brazil in response to the murder of a city councilor from the favela, reflecting the deep-rooted anger and frustration within the country.
In my hotel.
This video captures the death of His mother claims he was shot by a police officer during a demonstration in the favela. Ever since his death,
What do you think of the work that Henning is doing?
Two weeks ago, Brazilians took to the streets in all across the country, protests were held following the shocking murder of a city councillor from the favela.
Transcript excerpt focuses on the aftermath of Mariela Franco's death and the ongoing violence and senseless killings in Rio de Janeiro. The reopening of a library in Mariela's name becomes an opportunity for Luana, Mariela's partner, to question the governor about the investigation into her death and what needs to change in the city. The governor receives a hostile reception, highlighting the anger and frustration of the community towards the government's inability to address the violence. The families of children killed in the crossfire between police and traffickers also protest on Copacabana Beach, displaying the clothes of their deceased children. The transcript highlights the stark contrast in media coverage and public concern between the deaths in the favelas and those in more affluent areas. Ultimately, the situation underscores the need for change and the urgency to address the pervasive violence in Rio de Janeiro.
So what's it like for you, someone who has grown up in the favelas, to come down here to Copacabana?
É bem esquisito para mim, porque por morador de favela que vive num local segregado, num local onde a violência é constante, é tranquilizador, mas é muito assustador estar aqui nesse local, longe da favela, e não escutar um barulho de tiro, sabe? Pra gente que vive num tiroteio.
The weight of emotion felt by Benjamin's parents is acknowledged as they seek justice for their lost son. While media attention may bring awareness to their story, it can never bring Benjamin back. Despite the sadness and tragedy that looms over the favelas of Brazil, there is a glimmer of hope as the community begins to reject the intolerable circumstances and advocate for change. The work of community organizations and the growing influence of the people themselves may one day replace the walls of death with images of heroes from the favelas. Additionally, the LGBTQI community uses the platform of Carnival to express their opposition to Brazil's newly elected president and his history of homophobic comments, highlighting the ongoing battle for Brazil's future.
Voz de comunidade, eh? Yes! Is Marielle.
And this year's Carnival has become more of a protest against the newly elected President Bolsonaro. The so-called Trump of the tropics has a history of
Diverse and volatile atmosphere of Avenida Paulista in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The area is known as the Gaza Strip due to the clash between various ideologies, including socialists, punks, and conservatives. The video highlights the dangers faced by the LGBTQ+ community in Brazil, with a person from that community being killed every 16 hours. Anderson Souza recounts the tragic murder of his husband during the height of the president's campaign, shedding light on the high levels of violence and intolerance present in the country. The rise of the conservative right in Brazil and their opposition to the LGBT community is highlighted. The LGBT population is protesting during Carnival to make homophobia illegal, similar to racism. Same-sex couples rush to get married before President Bolsonaro's election, as he opposes same-sex marriages. There has been a 7-year debate on implementing a homophobia law, but Bolsonaro is fighting against it. The video also explores the views of some conservative individuals who believe that Carnival is no longer family-friendly due to the presence of the LGBT community. However, the LGBT community remains active and visible during events like Love Fest, the biggest LGBT gathering during Carnival in Sao Paulo.
Another story about a trans woman who had her heart ripped from her body and replaced by the image of a sex.
Luana, a performer in Brazil, finally lands a paying gig and performs to her biggest crowd ever. Her anti-Bolsonaro lyrics are a hit and she is invited back for an encore. However, the day after their performance, President Bolsonaro tweets an explicit video of a gay sex act at Carnival, claiming he wanted to expose the truth about what Carnival has become.
Night. But this year, the first year of Bolsonaro's presidency, they've decided to take it out onto the streets, and now it's just another carnival party. It's chaps, it's thongs, it's three-way snogging. This is the kind of thing that Gil and the conservative movement in Brazil would absolutely despise.
Well,
Obrigado pelo espaço.
Are you sometimes afraid to do your more militant stuff out in the public?
Então estar aqui ocupando esse espaço é militância também.
you're Brazilian. You're clearly very proud to be Brazilian.
Eu amo o Brasil, amo mesmo, de verdade. É a minha terra, é o meu povo, é o clima, é a comida.
The rise of the conservative right in Brazil has population. Today they're having a protest right in the middle of Carnival. They're trying to encourage the courts to make homophobia illegal, just like racism.
Luana!
Luana and Glaucia have come to join in.
How are you?